One big team. Let's go. On episode 8, I had on James Brady. James is a elite quarterback coach located up in Long Island, New York. He's an incredible guy. He is living to help young men find the best version of themselves. We get into, oh my gosh, so many great things. I got 3 pages of notes. Meditation, visualization, flow state, becoming the best version of ourselves, living in alignment, things that can help athletes or really anybody at any time in their life. So it's an awesome episode. I hope you enjoy it. And then you check out James's page on Instagram at QB Coach Brady to show him some love. And we would appreciate some love from you guys. So like, subscribe, share with all of your friends, every single person you meet. And I appreciate it. Let's grow this so that we can have a bigger positive impact. I appreciate all of you and enjoy the episode. James, thank you so much for coming on. I've been looking forward to this conversation since we touched base a few weeks ago. And I know that some great things are going to come through and that the people that listen to this will be positively impacted. So first, just thank you for coming on the show.
Dude, thank you for having me. I'll tell you what, the moment I came across your page, I remember thinking vividly, I was like, there's something here. I don't know what's going to come from this, but I know that there's something here. And now here we are.
I love it. I love it. That's a beautiful thing. So let's get started, man. Let's get some gratitude going. What do we got? It's 9:09 Friday, East Coast time. What are some things that you can express gratitude for that you've experienced today?
First off, waking up, and feeling excited and knowing that there's something new to do today that's going to generate a new sense of purpose, a new sense of meaning. And that's completely aligned with what I'm doing and working towards. So grateful for new opportunities that are aligned with my mission. Grateful for synchronicities. Synchronicities are, in my opinion, divine signs, little winks from the universe. You're on the right path. Share with you earlier, first time ever, everything with birds. I see a single bird and I kind of get a little wink, I see it as God saying hello for the day. And for the first time ever, a bird flew in my house. So I'm just grateful for synchronicities and God presenting itself to me on a pretty daily, consistent basis.
Amazing. You call it, a divine sign. And I definitely feel very similar about it the same way. I had a guy, Scott Ratliff, professional lacrosse player, leadership guy, and he was an awesome guest. And one of the things that he talked about was a strategy called positivity triggers, and essentially finding things in nature that you'll see, occasionally or often, and assigning them a meaning. So every time you see them, and for him, the blue heron meant patience. And he learned that from a coach. Every time he saw the blue heron, it was like, be patient in your process. And today, and then the other ones were leaves, right? So when the leaves changed, it was a reminder that everything changed. And if you love life, you love change. And so I think, I associate, when I see the blue heron, I'm like, man, that's a sign. There's so much special. There's a special connection there to a spiritual essence, but also anybody can start training that as a skill too, right? And because you're just creating a pathway and a pattern in the brain. So I love that as a strategy for people to use. You talked about waking up, and I'm curious, how quickly for you, when you wake up, when are the first thoughts, or do you try to be very intentional about your first thoughts of the day? Like, when do you come to and be like, all right, this is that new day. This is the new opportunity. When's that intentional self-talk kind of start for you? Are you training to where it's like right when you wake up? Is it when you start your first routine? Can you talk me through the first moments of the day?
Yeah, almost immediately, just from my experience and the way my mind works. And when I wake up, if I'm not careful and intentional, very quickly the doubt and the negativity can just slowly come to fruition. So I've just learned, just thank you right off the bat. I open my eyes and thank you. Just simple, right off the bat, thank you. Like, I keep it simple. Yeah. There have been times I've dabbled with, affirmations and trying to remember this and that. Keep it simple, just a simple expression of gratitude, waking up. And then I'm very intentional with my attention and where my thoughts are going on my walks with my dog. It's the first thing I do. I get up, I get dressed, take him out, and there's days where it's beautiful, it's completely present, and I'm just enjoying the time with him. And then there's days it's like, oh, I got to do this, and then this is, oh, I forgot about that, and it's like, it's a nice time to be mindful and aware of where my thoughts are, and just taking that time, come back to my breath, and be there walking the dog.
Yeah, it's an amazing thing. I think I first tapped into that probably when my whole mindfulness spiritual practice really got started in high school, and just becoming more aware of right when you wake up and just getting in and be like, all right, I'm in this body and I get to make choices and I can really control the way I feel for the most part. And now I'm the same way. It's thank you, thank you, thank you. And now I have this funny one with my girlfriend where I will like walk around my room, and as my feet hit the ground, I'm like, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. But it makes me laugh. And as we know, laughter is medicine. So that's what I've been doing now, which is pretty goofy because I do it when no one's there. But again, it makes me laugh and it raises that energy. But yeah, being intentional right upon waking up is such an important time. Let's flip it now on the other side of it, right? Let's bookending the days, right? So you got the morning and the night. So in the morning, and I'm sure there's more things you're doing a part of that routine, but you're waking up and you're being intentional about the way that you're thinking about who you are in that moment and how you want the day to go, and being in alignment with your vision. What's the nighttime look like for you?
Something that's very powerful and simple for me that I share with a lot of the young men we get to work with. Is part of my power down ritual, what I'm doing at night. But it's the deepest time of reflection, simple. It's what did I do well today? So, and focusing on the positive note, what went well? What did I do well? How did I show up well? Then where can I be better? And just making notes of, if I was getting distracted at times or whatever, or got off schedule or off task, whatever the case may be, then setting an intention for the next day, and then an affirmation. And takes anywhere from 2 to 5 minutes. It's quick, it's easy, and you're hitting the positive. You're bringing awareness to where you can make adjustments and better choices, setting intentions, being intentional and purposeful for what you want to achieve and how you want to show up the next day. And then nice little remembrance of who you want to be and what you want to think about yourself. So that's a powerful part of my power down ritual. It's the last thing I'll do for work, I guess, at night before I'm closing up shop and chilling out.
I love it. Yeah. So, I mean, I refer to that as the well, better, how process, right? What I do well, what I want to do better, how am I going to do it? And you've kind of replaced the how with intentions. Like, this is my intention for the next day, which I love. And it, reminds you of the success cycle, right? So preparation, performance, reflection. And a lot of times we skip out on the reflection, and just through that introspective time that we can take to sit down and be our own coach, we can learn so much. It's incredible. And usually, most of the time, if not all the time, we know what we should be doing and we're not doing, right? So we can dive in a little bit quicker. And that's what coaches do. We help, young men in our case, lacrosse players for me, quarterbacks and football players for you, kind of help tap into that reflective practice. I did it again, as I mentioned before the show. I got too excited. We're talking about gratitude. I just went right into the mental skills and your lifestyle. We got to go background. So let's take a step back. And yeah, give the listeners just a, background overview of yourself, your path, and where you are now and what you're currently doing.
Sure. So, I'm on Long Island. I'm in Long Island, New York. Run a quarterback training business. We are operating. This is our 5th year full time now, which is incredible. I operate with my father, Charlie. We are partners. He handles the whole back end. Without him, I'll give him a quick shout. This all wouldn't be possible. He does all of the things that I necessarily probably wouldn't want to do, and I know I wouldn't be very good at. So he handles all the back end stuff. But I actually started it when I was 18. I was still a senior in high school when I came up with the idea. Almost diverted when I was about 23, 24 into the corporate, the world, and had an interesting experience. I'm sure we'll chat about that, pointing me back in this direction. And ever since then, I've done everything in my power to make sure that this is the work that I'm doing. And, it's way more than just throwing a ball for what we do. I'm just very aware of the presence and the positive effect that a quarterback could have in a community, in a school building, on a team, It's just the way that it works. Quarterbacks are by nature, they're seen, they're heard more, they're respected and listened to. And that's what it's all about for me, is helping the young men we get to work with become the best version of themselves for the betterment of everyone else around them.
Mm-hmm.
I believe we can all affect positive change and make the world a better place. And we do it through throwing footballs, which is pretty friggin' cool. So that's the vehicle. Football is the vehicle to change our little section of the world. Out of high school, I had a lot of success in high school. Team I played for, St. Anthony's High School. Senior year, we were number 22 in the country, number 1 in the state. A lot of success. We had won 7 straight league championships, which is a pretty big deal. A lot of success in high school. Went on to Georgetown University out of high school. And that's where a lot of the adversity and life lessons and things really started to come to fruition. And I'm sure we'll dive into it more a little bit deeper. So I went to Georgetown out of high school, wound up transferring to University of New Hampshire. The transfer process, I think, is something I'd like to touch on at some point in time throughout the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
When it came down to it, just I wasn't happy and it wasn't aligned. Studying things I had no interest in, just didn't feel right, wasn't happy. So I went to New Hampshire to study physical education, get my degree in teaching, because I knew playing was kind of, after college, was kind of out of the equation. I knew from my senior year in high school, I was going to train quarterbacks for the rest of my life. At some point in time, I was going to make it happen. So I figured get my degree in education. Once I graduate, get a job teaching, support myself while we build the training business. Did that, taught high school health and physical education and a little bit of religion for 4 years while I coached a high school team. And then we got to the point where, we had to take a little bit of a risk, but punching some numbers and seeing if we put a little more time, energy, and effort into the training, I think we can make it happen full time. And now we're full time 5 years now.
I love it. One of the things, just to, like, while we're going background, let's touch on playing days, and it could be high school or any point in college. But what were some of the skills, not the technical stuff, right? The mental skills, the lifestyle skills that you used or that you wish you were using back then that you're teaching now?
Sure. So one that I definitely used and leveraged was discipline. My work ethic, the workout regimens, diet, even lifestyle, social habits. I'll say it here, I didn't touch a sip of alcohol until the night after our senior year championship game. Like, it was just it was football was so important to me.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe we'll touch on this too, to some bit of a detriment in terms of identity and things, but that's a whole nother story. Discipline, work ethic, no doubt. Things that I wish I had been practicing or at least aware of were mindfulness practices, visualization, the power of thought and the power of the mind. Because I can think of specific instances coming up to the line of scrimmage and coming from a place of fear and doubt, seeing the outside linebacker and thinking, I hope he doesn't intercept this. It's like, what? Like, I remember it vividly, the exact play and where we were. And it's like, man, I can't believe that's how I was operating mentally, So the mindset and power of thought and the ability to train and choose what goes through your head, and also understanding that your thoughts are not you.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would have been very powerful to know while playing in high school.
That's a great segue into another question right there, with the thoughts. And I know a lot of the questions and things that we're going to talk about are things that you've written and posted on your Instagram page, which I've been such a fan of since I've come across it. And one of the things that you've talked about is, understanding that your thoughts are not you. And you have autonomy in controlling those for the most part, if you learn the skills. So can you talk about, just that sentence right there, you are not your thoughts, and how you communicate that with your athletes?
So it was beautiful. It's usually circumstantial and on the field, right? And I actually heard a bit of your most recent podcast. I think it was the most recent one. And it was about being able to be present and tapped in and connected to the players around you. And I take that seriously, very serious. That's like the whole point. Everything I do in my day is to be as prepared and focused and present on the field.
Yeah.
And I can see it when and feel it when there are negative thoughts going through their heads, right? You can see it in their facial expressions and their body language. And I never hesitate to stop everything, bring everyone in, and use that as a teaching moment to talk about, okay, this is what's going through your mind. Do you think that's beneficial for you? Do you think this is going to help you move forward positively? Do you like thinking like that? Do you enjoy feeling this way? Right? Bringing awareness to what they're feeling, how they're feeling, what they're thinking. Just like, do you like that? Okay, no, simple enough. Now listen here, we have a choice. We can do something else instead. And that's where I start to really dive, or at least mention how we do have the ability to become aware of our thoughts and think again. Literally, if you don't like it, think again and choose differently. And we can practice it. And like all things, it takes practice. But that's where I see it click the most for guys. You know, I have a lot of tools and PowerPoints and videos and supplemental things I share with everybody. But the most powerful thing is in real time when it's happening, for them to be experiencing something negatively and then have a light turn on like, oh, wow, it would be nice to not have to think and feel like that. I mean, it's one thing to be watching a video and like, yeah, I guess that sounds good, but I don't know if it applies to me, right? And then it's another to be in it and then be shown a light at the end of the tunnel, like, hey, there's another way.
It makes me remember a time when I learned a technique, and it was simply when you're aware of a thought that you don't want to hold on to, you just simply internally or even verbally say out. And then you replace it with something new. And I remember being a freshman in college and probably walking around campus like a loon. And I was like, out. And, but it didn't take long for that practice, especially being super intentional and being vocal about it, to strengthen my awareness of those thoughts. And I think what you need to have that awareness and understanding that you're not your thoughts, because if you don't understand that, then you're just going to hold on to and be like, I'm this, I'm that. And that's where that doubt and that fear and a negative self-image can really take hold of anyone at any point in their life. But if you start catching yourself, you're like, oh, ow, I choose how I want to view myself. I choose the way I want to think about the scenario. But yeah, it starts with that fundamental awareness and controlling the thoughts there. One thing, speaking of controlling our thoughts, huge in our lifestyle and the choices that we make. You've mentioned the word aligned many times already in this conversation. What does it mean for you when you touch on that and being in alignment? Is it in alignment with your vision and in alignment with your choices, actions? Just talk about alignment for you and what that means.
So it first starts with, for me, I call it the massively transformative purpose. Then I come across from a program I'm involved in. Have you heard of Stephen Kotler? Flow Research Collective. Yeah. So I'm part of the Flow Research Collective.
Cool.
It's what I'm currently doing, learning how to do more of this stuff. But their whole thing with goal setting starts with a massively transformative purpose. And I have it written on a big board here. It's inspire, educate, and empower. I have a number there, but I'm shifting it to as many possible young men to become the best version of themselves for the betterment of everyone around them. So that's the overarching theme behind everything. Is the choice I'm making, is the action I'm taking in support of that. And that's how I know if I'm in alignment or not. And how I can kind of process it. How I'm feeling and how I'm thinking tell me everything I need to know if I'm living in alignment or not. From the foods I'm eating, the way my body responds to my sleeping habits, and all of the above, all the things that that go into all of it. But I really believe to know if you are living in alignment or not, you have to know where you're going.
Mm-hmm.
Have that end in mind. And it's not a destination, it's a way of life.
Yeah.
And what you're really, just why you're here and what you're here to do.
Yeah. Two things pop up. One, I'm having a conversation with one of my 8th graders last night, and he goes, "Yeah, I'm pretty nervous for high school." Yeah, well, like, what are you nervous about? He goes, "Well, I keep hearing people talk about habits, and like, I don't know if my habits are that great." and and he's like, and like school and all this stuff, and we just had a good conversation. Like, well, what do you want? Do you want to be overwhelmed by school and not perform well in the field? He goes, no. I go, well, do you want to perform so well in the field that you have stress in your social life and academics? He goes, no. I go, what do you want? And I'm trying to beg in the question. He's like, balance. I want balance. I want to be good. Everyone, like, yeah, great. Okay. So let's get clear about that. What's that look like? All right. Well, then let's come up with a plan. And I think one of the things that we can do as coaches and mentors, and there's people that did this for us, is, we have a much clearer image and a lot more clarity around the blueprint of what it takes to get a 8th grader, for me, a 8th grade lacrosse player, to get him where he wants to be, not just as a lacrosse player, but also just a healthy human who has a really happy existence, right, through their high school years. And having mentors that create that plan. And I think that's a big part of alignment, is coming up with that clear plan of, all right, if I'm in alignment with my vision to have this massive impact, what does it look like? What am I eating? What am I, and the technique of reverse engineering, right? Put yourself in that future state. All right, I've done it. I've accomplished this. For me, I'm the Hall of Fame coach. I've had this massive positive impact. What did I eat that day? Okay, well, you probably didn't eat chicken wings. You were probably eating really healthy. And what'd you do? You definitely worked out. You definitely meditated. Okay, I got to start doing those little things today. And then there's another one that I had a conversation with one of my guys yesterday, and he goes, Coach, I want to be the greatest player to ever come through this school. And I was like, I love it. And he always talks about Tom Brady. And if you listen to Tom Brady enough, right, a mediocre athlete at best who has this incredible career, you listen to how intentional he's been behind it and his belief system. I'm like, man, you're getting this inspiration from him, because he always talks about him. And I go, well, let's just come up with a clear plan. Like, that's it, and he was like, yeah, let's do that. Let's come up with a plan. So I think that's just one of the roles that we play. And I wanted to touch on, I think it's so important for anyone at any time in their life to communicate with somebody who's at where they want to be and get help in creating that plan. That note of being a mentor. Let's flip it on its head. So I'm going on a little tangent here. I'm all excited. Who are some of the people that did that for you? Or who are some of the people, maybe it's Stephen Kotler right now, that are providing that guidance for you in who you want to become?
So the most impactful ones, I call them mentors from a distance. Some I've had the opportunity to meet. Most I'm reading their words, listening to their words, watching their videos. One that's had the most profound impact on me is Aubrey Marcus. I don't know if you know who Aubrey Marcus is.
Oh, yeah.
So it was actually for one trimester, I was part of their Fit for Service collective.
Nice.
With him, it was, I see him as just like this spiritual warrior, right? And seeing that you can be, masculine, but also divine and peaceful, and stand for something and be purposeful and intentional, and above all else, live in a way to help other people and be of service and doing what you love. So Aubrey Marcus, probably number one overall. One that I've been on recently, in terms of spirituality and kind of helping humanity, is Russell Brand. I don't know if you listen to any Russell Brand.
Yeah.
He's a current one. He's in my ear pods every single day at some point in time, usually at the gym. Stephen Kotler and the Flow Research Collective, most certainly another one. And then there's, some coaching inspirations and things like that along the way. But those are the ones that I say are having the most direct impact presently.
Yeah. One of the things I love reminding players about, it's strategy over ability. And I'm just trying to, I'm feeling how much you have probably received from those mentors from a distance. And then it makes me think of how much I've received, especially over the past 5 years when I've been committed to listening to podcasts and audiobooks. It makes me emotional to really think about who I would be if I had not been consuming all this stuff. And that's a strategy. And I know I was really intentional about it. So that's a good segue into inspiration and information, right? So two, I talk about in podcasts, right? You got to be a hunter of both inspiration and information. And ideally it's daily. So I think you touched on 3 people that you're getting that inspiration and information through, but how are you consuming that? And how intentional are you in consuming those type of things?
So primarily podcasts. And right now I was just listening to an audiobook from Russell Brand, most usually podcasts. And that is paired with my time at the gym. It's kind of, a friend of mine just said this recently, is feeding 2 birds with 1 scone instead of killing 2 birds
Nice.
with 1 scone. It's
I love that.
Switch to it.
That's good.
So it's in the ear pods most consistently with podcasts while I'm at the gym, but also with Stephen Kotler. As I said, I'm part of the Flow Research Collective, which is a program to learn how to teach high flow lifestyles and flow state. And that's at least 1 lesson a day. So it's those 2 ways, through podcasts and then the program I'm involved in, doing a lesson a day.
Making that investment in yourself. What are some other examples? What are some other, whether it's daily or things you've done over the years? I mean, the Flow Research Collective, that sounds like that's a very intentional investment. And every time I've done it, I've never regretted it. I've only been better. And I think, early in my coaching career, I was like, all right, got to save this money here, save that. And then at some point I flipped a switch and I was like, oh no, I need to put my money back into myself. I need to get and search for these mentors. And if I have to pay to be a part of their course, that's fine. And if I got to get this certification, and each time I do it, I just feel better and better. What are maybe some other things, or just that thought on being, taking an investment into yourself?
Sure. So I've been involved with a couple of men's groups that were extremely impactful. It's just interesting, we're chatting about this now. I'd say for the last 4 to 5 years, there is something I'm very intentional about investing my time, energy, and money, usually a lot of money, into per year, right? And I am now at a place where I'd say for the last month and a half to 2 months, as I'm going through this program that I've spent a lot of money, invested a lot of money in for all the right reasons, I write about it pretty consistently that I've invested a lot. Now it's time to flip the switch and create more. And I came across something recently that's been very powerful for me, that, as much as you're consuming and taking in input, you have to be balancing it with creativity and output. And I'd say for the last 4 years or so, it's been somewhat heavily out of balance of input and learning. And trust me, I would not be who I am without all of these things. But now it's just like, I've got what I need for now to at least let's put my own twist on it and let people hear what I have to say and help however I can help. So it's just that interesting in terms of input and mentors and podcasts and all these things. Also just being very intentional about having some kind of outflow to balance it out, because you can get very overwhelmed and kind of blocked, to be honest, if you're not intentionally putting something out.
That's a great point. I think I first tapped into that concept. It may have been Deepak Chopra's 7 Spiritual Laws of Success, but I remember the reading and the conversation around the flow between giving and receiving. And I think they use the example of money, and that if you just are holding on to your money, then you're not going to potentially come up with the ideas to make new money. But the one that really hit me was your ideas. And I think as a coach, we want to win, and we may have some special play or some new technique that we're like, this is it, and the ego is like, hold it close. Don't tell anybody. And when you're holding something so close, you're not creating space for something new to come in. And I remember making that shift. It was a good while ago and being like, man, if I figure some drill out, if I find a technique that seems to be working with my kids, like I'll share it with anybody who wants. And I'm sure you're in the same boat there. And it's also very, when you do that, you're coming from a place of abundance and love and not of fear and lack. Because what a lifestyle would be if you're like, I got to hold this idea so close, I'm afraid, so I completely agree with that. And I think that's an important thing for, I'm sure younger athletes are going to tap into this to sure. Understand.
And for coaches as well.
Absolutely.
I believe some coaches are watching this and trainers listening, right? And it's just wild that you say that again, synchronistic, so connected. I had that exact experience yesterday. In the last few weeks or so, I've been very intentional about my thought process. Give it away. Just if I know it and it seems to hit, just put it out there. I'm using social media more socially, and I'm learning how to use the platform to, build the audience, affect a little more positive change. And so every Wednesday I do a Q&A, and one of the questions was about mechanics, arm path, right? And through an online program I created a PowerPoint that was very simple, straightforward, but very informative, very detailed, probably 6 or 7 pages, just on coaching points, what I've come to find works, and also common errors, which I think is extremely valuable for any coach to be aware of what we don't want to happen that happens consistently, right? When kids are working on this, here's the 3 things you're going to see most likely someone struggle through, right? So anyway, so a coach had reached out to me. So I put it on my story. Hey, if anyone is interested, shoot me a DM and I'll send you this arm path manual, right? And in this manual is years of struggle and trial and error and pain and suffering and like, what the hell? And also reaching out to people and asking for advice and everything, right? So all these things I've come to know. And the coach reaches out to me, a young coach from Missouri, I think. And I think he's like 23, 24. He's trying to get into the quarterback training space, and send it to him. Couldn't have been more grateful and appreciative. And he literally said, he goes, if you don't mind me asking, why are you giving this away for free? Like, this is gold. Aren't you afraid someone's going to like steal it and take it and use it and like become a competitor? And literally everything you just said was my answer. I was like, look, man, if I'm coming from a place of fear and lack and scarcity, what I'm working to do, this massively transformative purpose, will never happen, right? I know something that I believe is beneficial and will help others. I'm giving it, right? And that's what it's all about, and to that point too, in terms of competitors, in terms of confidence as a coach and who you are and what you're doing, I'd highly recommend or encourage that you spend so much time, energy, effort, and attention on your craft, honing your skill set, and doing what you do, believing what you believe in, to the degree that you can genuinely believe you are your only competition, where you can hand everything you do to anybody and know at the end of the day, they are not you. They have not learned how you've learned. They have not seen what you've seen. They've not gone through it how you've gone through it. They don't teach you how you teach it. They can't. They're not you, right? It's the information, right? Yeah, check the boxes, man. See how that goes for you, right? And I'm right here if you need any help, And at the end of the day, if this quarterback coach in Missouri is going to take that information, help individuals in his little section of the world have a better football experience and help them get better, that's what it's all about. Indirectly, that is helping me achieve my purpose.
Totally.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. And, you hit on the word belief, and something that I've been coming to terms with, both in reflecting in my playing career and also my coaching, is the phrase like, you won't outperform your belief system. And I think you could also say that, and you won't outperform your self-image. And So, you know what? Actually, before we go there, let me think about this. I mean, you touched on so many great things, James, and I'm like, I'm a page and a half in already. What are we like 30 minutes in? So I'm fired up.
Cool.
Just to give listeners and whoever's listening to this perspective, and I'm sure you've had this too. That guy says, aren't you afraid of this happening? Right now in my coaching, in my academy, I'm super focused on one program, and that's my one-on-one mentorships. And for years, I've been doing group training. I've been able to see a lot of kids, but for right now, for my vision, my best thing is to do this one-on-one mentorship stuff. But I see things pop up. So-and-so's doing a training, and the ego is like, you got to get back out there. Like, you're the best trainer. You better do this. But then, because I have this awareness and these skills, having that quick conversation and be like, wait a minute, no, I'm running my own race. And it is such a liberating thing, what you said, when you really come to terms with that, you're only competing with yourself, and it gives you a lot of peace of mind. And I just think it's a beautiful thing that we all have to work on and recognize that in any field that we're in. Is that a conversation that you find you're having often with your athletes?
Well, I'll start with this. It's a conversation I'm having often with myself first,
Yeah.
right? Like I say it all the time, everything I'm sharing, I don't want to come from a place of like on this pedestal, like this is how you do this, right? It's like, like I struggle with that, right? And I know this works. It's first a conversation I have with myself, but yes, definitely a conversation with the kids because how prevalent social media is. And it's like, that is a box of comparison to the nth degree.
Yeah.
Looking at it's like not even real, right? Most people are putting out what they want people to see and believe. And it's like this constant circle of fake comparing to a non-reality, right? People doing what we wish we were doing, people having what we wish we have, people being with people that we wish we were with. So yes, that is a conversation we are having consistently. I'd say probably almost any time we see a kid with a phone in his hand.
Like,
what's going on in there? You up to anything good? And I just like, hey, using that as a time to open a conversation. And it's very, very consistent because I see it in my own habits with social media. And, very recently, I literally sat down and made a list. Who do I find myself comparing myself to when they pop up? I first went through a phase of when it popped up, become aware of it and like sit with it, right? And I was like, you know what? If it's not, and it's mostly, other people in the same space, right? But then there's other people that also do a fantastic job that I just find inspirational and that I'm happy for. And I genuinely learn from, I take notes from, I reach out and ask questions from. So I don't know really what creates the difference, but the ones that I find myself comparing myself to, I mute them or I unfollow them. I negate it from my life, and it's one less thing to distract me and for me to compare myself and help me stay in my lane.
Totally. When you're touching on social media, it reminded me of a conversation I've had a lot with athletes. And this was the thing that I experienced myself for years. I was very, all right, what am I doing on Instagram? Am I just wasting time? I'm afraid to post this. Do I post about my relationship? It caused a little bit of, I would say micro anxiety in my life. And I was a coach and I was doing a lot of great work. This is probably like 3-4 years ago. And I was like, all right, I got tons of film, but I'm not putting it up. And is it a comparison thing? And then I realized, I go, you know what? I don't have a vision for my social media, or I wasn't aligned, right? That was one of the areas of my life that wasn't in alignment. And it really helped me to realize, like, all right, wait a minute, let's go back to my vision. All right, my vision is to have a massive positive impact on the world. So that's what I'm going to use social media for. Right now, I'm still not using it, every day trying to pump out like this. But when I do post, I have that framework, and there's no time that I'm like, all right, what's the views, what's the likes or whatever, because I guess you could say it's relevant because I want to reach people. So there is like a technical side of it, but I don't have anxiety over it anymore. And I've been posting more than ever. And I think that's a really good practice for anyone to go through. What's your vision for your social media? And what's your framework around it? When do you use it? What time of day? And are you, being aware, like, are you comparing yourself? And then also what you just said, like, yeah, it's most people's highlights of their life. Okay. So you're looking at it and you're like, whoa, I'm so jealous and envious of this. And being able that's part of your framework, recognizing like, wait, what we see on here is kind of fugazi. And like, it's an interesting piece. And I remember a line that really helped me in high school. And it was, he who envies others never obtains peace of mind. And it was so powerful for me. Again, self-awareness. Oh, there I am. I'm being jealous. I'm envying somebody else. Oh, wait, if I do that, I'll never obtain peace of mind and have inner peace. Oh yeah. Don't envy that guy. You're good to go. Your life is complete. And that's what it looks like, right? That's what achieving levels of momentarily inner peace looks like. It's those little conversations.
Yeah. And this is going to keep coming up. And you've touched a few times. Like, what are the conversations like? More often than not, well, I'll say this. I think where it all starts and what I spend a lot of time intentionally chatting about with the kids is awareness. If the awareness isn't there, none of the tools or things that we're going to talk about, grit, or gratitude, or choosing and mindfulness, all these things involve the awareness. I'm happy to touch on that. But I do want to share similar experiences with social media, right? I literally feel like I'm listening to what goes on in my head, like projected to me. Periods of time where like I was like rebellious, right? Like, I'm not gonna buy into the, you have to be posting and this and that. And if I do, it's going to be impactful. And it's still in the dance of my flow and how I want to get things out. But I've come to terms with the fact that it's a tool that you can learn to use, right? And with the purpose being, you want to affect positive change and make an impact. And then you see, and you spend time on writing this thing that feels so good, and you put it out, and then it's like 80 people see it. It's like, okay, what good is that really doing? And then there's videos of, guys throwing footballs in some other state and it says like dot in the caption, right? And it's like dime or whatever. And fucking, excuse me.
It's okay. I don't care.
40,000 views. It's like, what the hell? Right. So like, finding that balance of like, okay, finding a way, you got to give the people what they want to see, what is naturally grabbing people's attention through the tool right now, but then also utilizing it to say what's on your heart and be impactful. So I just resonate deeply with that, and I had to share. So,
one of the things I'm doing right now is I'm starting to create more content for my academy in just video form, these type of conversations, and then having prompts for the players to go through. And I think one of them that I had not considered yet was the social media aspect. And what you just said, it's a tool. And how are you going to learn to use the tool, both on what you're intaking and then what you're putting out there? And I think that's a really powerful thing that I'm definitely going to come back to. I think it's good for anybody to reflect on it, because it can be a very consuming aspect of our life. Okay. Now let's tap back into belief and belief systems, and that phrase, and I believe like you cannot consistently outperform your belief system. And I'll lead it off with, was working with a player the other night, sophomore, great player. And we're watching some of his film, and it's an open field play, and he misses this takeaway check. And he goes, I always miss those. And I go, I've been really big into this belief system thing. And I realized that I never took the ball away in the open field like that, right? As a defender, that was not my game. And I could have, I could have made those plays. And I realized now that I was just performing up to my belief system. I created a box for me as a defender, and I had a good career, but my box was, you're super technical. You like playing behind the cage. You're a great communicator, but you don't do too much with the ball. You get rid of the ball quickly, and you don't press out too far because that's not your game. And that is exactly how my career went. And I'm like, wow, if I just was able to open up that perspective. And I go, do you believe you can take the ball away there? And he goes, now you're saying it. Not really. I go, but now let's look at film. You're right there, right? Don't you think you have the ability, the speed, this technical skill to do it? He's like, yeah, I do. I'm like, all right, well, this is going to take more than just one conversation, but you need to start visualizing and you need to start deeply believing that you can make those plays. So I wanted to lead it off with there, but what type of conversations are you having around belief system and how are you working with it? Maybe for yourself or with your athletes?
Well, this is what like the whole thing is, right? Is why we do all the tools to believe and achieve. It's something that I don't want to say struggle is not the right word, but making it, I think, not relevant, but expressing its significance without making it seem too overwhelming. So the only way it's going to work sustainably over a consistent period of time and have it actually become an ingrained belief system is through the work that it takes to get there, right? Just the daily practices and the awareness. And it's something that I try to keep as simple as possible with the guys, right? There's a simple exercise I do with them all the time. You've probably come across it at some point. I found in Michael Singer's book, Untethered Soul, where you say, okay, say the word hello in your head, right? And they hear it. Like, okay, now think about what is that voice in your head saying to you on a consistent basis, right? So you start with that. What is the voice in your head saying to you on a consistent basis? And they're thinking about it. I'm like, okay, now what would you do if there was a little person walking next to you all day long saying that same stuff? Like, oh, I'd knock them out or I'd tell them to get away from me. And it's like, okay, now say the word hello in your head. They hear it. It's like, who controlled that? And then like, oh, wow. Like, and that just kind of turns the light on to like, yeah, man, why do you think your energy's low and you're struggling with this and that? Because that voice in your head, your belief system, is out of whack. It's out of balance. And that's what I use to kind of shine the light on how powerful it is and the effect that it's creating on them. And then the easiest thing, I always try to keep it as simple as possible and as easy as possible for them to actually take action. I feel like if I give them too much at once, it's not going to work. And I give them affirmations practice. Really simple. Explain what it is, I am statements, and say, hey, what is it that you actually do you want to believe about yourself? I'm confident, I'm capable, I am in control, whatever it is. Those are the ones that come up most often. And confidence is always the first one that seems to be lacking. And it's like, okay, can you write that down at some point in the morning once every day? Oh, for sure. I can do that. Or once this week. Can you write that down on Monday? Oh, for sure. I can do that. And it's taking the approach to set them up for success. Do as little as possible to eventually create the sustainable habit.
Yeah.
And that's the approach I take with almost all of these tools. Any mindfulness tool, any of it, is just to get them started.
Yeah.
Because I've definitely in the past, it's like, look at this whole program and this and like this, do all this. And it's like, I know kids a little better these days.
Yeah.
They're not doing that right now. Eventually, and the ones that write it down once and then twice and then 3 times and take the time and build gradually, they'll sit down for 3 hours and watch and read, and you know what I mean? So I try to keep it as simple as possible and simple affirmations. Start with one. What is it you want to believe about yourself?
So many great things, James. When you talked about affirmations, written affirmations for me definitely help. I feel a little bit more moved, but I was on a kick listening to motivational YouTube videos for a while, and I love them. And there's just so many gems in there. But basically for about a month, this is like 2 or 3 months ago, every morning I'd get up and the first thing I would do and a lot of it with like Les Brown and Tony Robbins, and just put it on and just let it seep in. And I love it. And one of the things that I took away from it that really helped was Les Brown. And he talked about your self-talk. And he said that it has to be powerful. It has to have feeling, and it has to be spoken with conviction. And I looked at him, I go, damn, anytime I've ever spoken to myself and it's worked, there was feeling behind it, right? I changed the energy in my body, and there was a physiological reaction to what I was saying. But yeah, and you've probably been with athletes and you're like, yeah, I'm confident. And it's like, all right, that's not the practice, right? And so I wrote it down. I have it on my whiteboard next to my bed. It says powerful feeling, conviction. And another thing I got, and it's so silly, and if anybody ever drives by me in the area and sees me yelling at myself in the car, I mean, it's a real thing. If I'm not feeling up to task, I will start speaking out loud these affirmations of, I'm living my dream life. I'm in alignment with my vision. I'm going to go help this kid. I'm going to do this. And it doesn't take long before you get the chills. And now you're in a different state and you're a lot better. And that's just a practice. And that's a skill set that you can learn.
And it takes the same amount of energy to do that as it does to sit there and think all the other shit that you don't want to be thinking. You know what I mean? And it's just the intention and the awareness to do it. I love it. So you said it was powerful, what in conviction?
It has to be powerful. It has to have feeling, and there needs to be conviction in what you say. And, saying it with supreme confidence in that this is the way it's going to be. And I did this activity yesterday with my defensive practice. We're towards the end of practice, towards the end of the school year. Just the energy was a little bit, we lost state championship a week ago, and we were just having a moment. It was hot. There was just a moment where like you couldn't fake it. Like we were a little bit tired, and we had about 15 minutes left, and we needed to get quality work in. And I gave some technical adjustments, and I said, hey, you guys remember the feeling after we lost? And everybody talked about, remember this feeling. Like, I want you to put yourself there right now to the point where you have the chills, because that's what remembering the feeling is. Just saying, yeah, I remember that. That does not change your state. That doesn't want to change. And I was like, if you give yourself the chills, that you are doing it the right way. And take that, get a little bit pissed off for the last drill that we're about to do. Noticeable difference. And I could just see it in their eyes too, right? I say, hey guys, remember the state championship? Nothing changes. I go, I want you to give yourself the chills. I want you to really think about it so much that your heart rate increases. And you can see that look, and it's like, now you're ready to perform. So I think it's an amazing thing when you learn how to control those emotions and the state that you're in. It's a great skill. And I know that I love working with athletes on that stuff. I want to touch on flow state and a high flow life.
Sure.
I don't know if it was Steven Kotler or Jason Silva. Maybe it was Jason Silva, but somebody talking about flow and having triggers to get yourself in a flow state and to build your life around being in a flow state. And I said, okay, I like that. All right, well, gratitude helps me get into a flow. Movement helps me get into a flow. And then you just start building your life around that. And I'm sure those are things that you're talking about with like high flow life. And I know, like, before we got on the call, you text me, you're like, I got to do a quick, cold shower. And I'm sure that's part of it too. So can we talk about flow state and a high flow life?
Sure. So first, understanding what flow is, right? It's what it's defined as is as a state of consciousness or state of mind when you are completely present, focused, confident, and relaxed, fully immersed in the task at hand, when you feel your best and perform your best. A lot of people have probably experienced it like being in the zone, right? And to simplify it, I see it as being able to drive your focus to the present moment. So all of the entirety of the program and everything I'm learning to do and teach and share, the ultimate objective is to drive your focus to the present moment and to make it so when you're talking about creating a high flow lifestyle, it's doing all the front loading and all the work in preparation for the upcoming days, events, performances, whatever the case may be, to reduce cognitive load, to create the space and just make it as simple as possible to drive your focus to the present moment, eliminating distraction, right? And all these things that just come up with life, having as clear goals as possible, making sure you can get completely concentrated, having a sense of autonomy, all of these things that go into it, those are flow triggers. The whole thing is all just about being able to drive your focus to the present moment and revolving your life around that. Mm-hmm. So you can be present as possible, as focused as possible, produce your best work as possible, and just let it flow.
What are some of the things that you're doing daily to stay in that high flow state?
So 2 things that might go, I guess, unnoticed or people might not think are as important. One is recovery. And we have to understand about flow states is it's extremely powerful. It can be like, it's like borderline addicting. It is, you're getting a ton of dopamine, serotonin. And if you are accessing it properly, the number one thing you have to do is recover from it properly. And that's a whole nother conversation. Through doing this program, I came to learn that one of the bouts of depression, or a few of the bouts of depression, why I think I was experiencing it consistently, is because basically anytime I was on the field coaching, I was getting into flow and then just basically destroying myself outside of the field, and it created a literal chemical imbalance. But the things that I'm doing for recovery is some kind of mindfulness practice, some kind of movement practice, and then I love hot cold therapy. So those are the things that I do, and those are all happening at night. And we talk about grit, having the grit to recover properly, right? It's what you don't want to do. It's when everything's all said and done, the day is over, you've gotten your work done, you've been in flow, and now it's time to have the grit to recover. And the 3 things I enjoy most are mindfulness. That's a breathwork practice, most consistently for me. And sometimes I'll pair that with hot cold therapy, doing breathing in a sauna, right? A lot of times, if it's, I'm feeling a little more, I feel my fatigue most often in my hips and lower back. I'll just bust out a few poses and hip openers, and just, it's about down-regulating the nervous system and prepare yourself for sleep. And then the next one is what I call my power down ritual, which is preparation for the next day, which I think for a lot of people may already be doing it, right? Just, your daily planning and this and that. But what I think makes it even more powerful is when you're doing it intentionally to access flow, you receive more flow, right? If you're just making your schedule, so I'll do this, then this, then this, then, and then having out clear goals, step by step by step. This is what I'm going to do. Here's what I'm going to achieve. Helps me access flow. So the recovery and then the preparation are 2 things that I'm doing to access flow consistently. And then to prepare on the field, right? And kind of in more real time is breath work and meditation. Start every day with bare minimum 10 minutes of breathing and meditation. I've realized, and through a lot of work, every time I access flow has come after breath work and meditation. That's the biggest trigger for me. Kind of get the transient hypofrontality, quiet down the prefrontal lobe and that voice, and dive into it.
With the breath work, is there specific cadences you're going with? Is there a specific focus just in that 10-minute routine that you do?
Yep. So what I found works best for me. So I also teach breath work.
Yeah.
More deep dive kind of deals. It's called a 3-part breath or 3-stage activation breath. The mechanics of the breath is 2 inhales, 1 exhale. And it's diaphragmatic breathing to start. So you push the belly down and out on 1, open the chest, heart, and lungs on 2, and it's all through the mouth. And then release the exhale on 3. So it's all through the mouth, and you're trying to get as much oxygen as you can and really pushing the belly down and out. Then open the chest, heart, and lungs and create as much space. and then just letting it all go on the exhale. So bare minimum, I do 3 rounds of 7 of that. At the top of every 7th inhale, I don't want to make this too confusing, but this is
good. I'm definitely going to use it, so it's all good for me.
Fantastic. So then at the top of every 7th inhale, I do a hold. Mm-hmm. And with the holds, I constrict my stomach muscles. And what that does is essentially pushes the oxygen and energy up to the spinal cord into your brain. Mm-hmm. And it just, I have no other way to say it. It feels friggin' fantastic, man. Totally. So round 7 of that. After the long hold, I hold the exhale for as long as possible. So we empty the system. And then after that, 3 rounds of 7, that usually takes around 7 to 10 minutes. I follow it with a brief meditation, and I'm a big fan currently of box breathing. Mm-hmm. 4 count in, and the pattern I go with is 4 count in, hold for 8, extended exhale for 8, hold for 8. Because at the beginning of the day, most consistently for me, there's a little bit of angst and nervous, I just feel a little antsy, right? I feel best when really calming down in the morning. And that's what elongated exhales do for you, is calms the central nervous system. If you got to get energy going, you're better served with elongated inhales, quick exhales.
Mm-hmm. So the 3 stage, is that similar to like the Tumo breathing and like Wim Hof?
Very
similar in ways. Okay. Yeah. I love that. And yeah, I mean, there's really only way to, you feel absolutely fantastic afterwards. The other ones that I've been a big fan of is 4-7-8, which I do every night, and definitely helps me down regulate and get ready for sleep. And one of the greatest little gifts that I've been able to share with players is, just teach them 4-7-8, and guys who are like, oh my gosh, I'm falling asleep so easily at night. And there's other things, putting the phone away and all of those factors. But it's like probably one of my favorite things, more so than like, oh, coach, I landed this sick check, is when a guy's like, coach, I've been falling asleep at night, like, and it's peaceful. And I'm like, what a great thing that is. I love the 4-7-8. And then the other one, where is that?
That's the life-changing stuff right there,
That's it, man. Yeah. And then the other one that I really like is, and I was curious, like with the meditation practice, with a focus on the breath, which I learned from You Are Here. And it is, as I breathe in, I am aware that I'm breathing in. As I breathe out, I'm aware that I'm breathing out, and just staying with the breath in that way. And that's one of the, I guess, triggers for me, that I like to use, especially if I'm struggling to just be at peace, is just as I breathe in, I'm aware I'm breathing in. As I breathe out, I'm aware I'm breathing out.
Kind of like a mantra that's on repeat.
Yes. Yeah. That one's been a good one for me. And then, the 4-7-8, I think the counting really helps.
Sorry.
No, you're good.
Repeat that again. As I breathe in.
As I breathe in, I'm aware that I'm breathing in. As I breathe out, I'm aware I'm breathing out.
Love it.
And definitely helps drive an intense awareness of the present moment. And then, the counting has also really helped me get into just more conscious breathing practices. And it's like the best thing ever. And then just throughout the day, just coming back to it is like such a sweet little gift. I'm realizing, just like time wise, like I think this could probably be like a 5-hour show. I think we're gonna keep going for a little bit. Is that cool?
Oh, dude,
all right, sweet. So you touched on, now I'm just getting into like, I just want to talk about hot cold therapy, but I don't know if that's going to bring the most value to everybody.
Well, you don't mind, I'd like to touch quick back on just meditation and mindfulness.
Absolutely. Let's do it.
So, in terms of sharing it with kids and teaching it, all of this stuff, what I'm working through at the moment is how to make it relevant, number one, and then I don't want to say easiest practice, but most accessible that I know will be done, right? Mm-hmm. And most of what I'm doing at the moment, I call it being the book, right? So there are other practices I've done in the past that are also beneficial, but the ones I'm doing now are the ones that I believe are kind of most easily accessible and easiest to do for teenage boys, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
What I found and feedback I've received. So first, with if you're going to be sharing meditation and mindfulness practices, first I'd always recommend teaching breath work first. So it's mostly through the mouth. And reason being, breath work is more body centered. It's more about feeling than it is about focus and attention, right? If you think about meditation, it's mostly happening in the mind. Breath work is a fantastic warm up to get the mind into a meditative state before meditating.
Mm-hmm.
The best pattern would be movement, breath work, meditation. Movement kind of gets the energy blockages out, breath work, next level of that. And now by the time you're ready to meditate, your mind is already in a meditative state. It becomes easier. I used to just share meditation practices, and the feedback was always, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know. I don't like this. And it was always a struggle. Just think about the average, think of yourself as a teenage kid, or especially now, all the distractions you have going on, where your mind is at and how you're operating. And I say, okay, sit down and focus on your breath for even 2 minutes, right? And it's just like, they can't sit still, right? So to prepare them for that, I've found sharing the breath work first. Number one, they enjoy it. It's much easier for them to do because it's not like notice your thoughts and bring your attention back. And it's just taking as much oxygen as you can, relax a little more on the exhale, and just feel what you're feeling. And then working into meditation, I've just found to be very, very powerful. And the easiest meditation I've found for them to pick up is the box breathing. Now, I don't know if this is true. It's a kind of a conclusion I've come to, because the count is constantly changing. Say you're just going 4 in, 4 out, 4 in, 4 out, 4 in, hold 4, 4 out, hold 4. Because it's a constant change, I believe it's easier for them to keep their attention on it because there is something actually changing. Does that make sense?
Totally. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the counting definitely helps with keeping your focus there. And that's been my experience. And I also think there's maybe something there with just rep count as an athlete, and you're just used to counting reps. And, but no, I really agree with that. The movement, breath work, meditation flow makes a ton of sense to me. And I completely agree with what you just said there. Just from my own experience, just counting has just helped me tap into that so much more. 100%. So I definitely want to talk quick about journaling, something I just want, the more and more I want people to hear about that practice. So we'll talk about journaling practice, and then a quarterback's guide to life. Let's talk about that. We can talk about, do you want me to, as a project, is that a good way to refer to it? Okay. And then cool, calm, connected. What are your thoughts about cool? Like, what is the cool reference to in that?
So it's funny. I've had some thoughts about this, where cool and calm are essentially the same thing, where it's worry-free, doubt-free. It's a state of being where there's confidence, there's belief, there's no worries, no doubts, no fears, and this presence of, if you really think of like a Joe Montana or a Tom Brady, right? Unfazed and prepared. Confident, unfazed, and prepared, I think, is a great way to sum those up. And the connected part, I can't actually take credit for. So I'll say this: the cool, calm, connected came to me through meditation. Someone asked me recently, like, where did that come from? And it in like flashing colors, it was just like cool, calm, collected. Like, this is like the all encompassing, what makes it what makes the mindfulness and flow state relevant to quarterbacking.
Mhm.
You hear it all the time when people talk about quarterbacks, it's cool, calm, and collected. And I believe the natural perception of it is that it's like an innate it factor. It's like either you have it or you don't.
Mhm.
It is obvious to me that is not true.
Yep.
That these things can be taught, they can be learned. They are skill sets that
Yep.
can be personality traits
Mm.
developed over time. Um, so it came to me, and that's just where my whole focus and attention has been in terms of learning and creation. And then the connected part, a friend of mine that through the Fit for Service fellowship I was in with Aubrey Marcus,
Mhm.
Zoom call, and he just simply kind of nudged me and reminded me. He was like, "Isn't your mission and like your mission statement be the best you, not just for the betterment of yourself, but for the betterment of everyone around you?" And I was like, "Yeah, for sure." And he's like, "Well, now think about some of your experiences and what you've come to know, like that, God or universe, source, I believe is the highest version of ourselves. And we all have that. And we're all connected to it. That's how we are all connected." He said, "How we're all connected." And he goes, "Wouldn't it be cool if it was cool, calm, connected? And like everything you're doing is to connect to the highest version of yourself."
Mm.
So that's how it's kind of all encompassed, where it's slightly different, right? It's not just being confident and present and unfazed. It's also about what it's really about is learning how to connect to the highest version of yourself.
Mm. I love it, man. I was thinking about the other day, actually a while ago, I'm sorry, about that connection piece and being connected with my athletes so that I can better serve them, and then also helping them get connected to their vision, to their process, to their potential, all of those things. And it's just a powerful way to look at coaching and relationships. With the quarterback guide to life, I was thinking about this the other day, and I'm sure this has crossed your mind with the massive impact that you are having and going to have with your vision is, aren't we all a little bit of quarterback in our own life?
Exactly.
Can you touch on that? I was thinking about, I was like, man, like, you got to read the defense. Sometimes the day, the adversity, you're driving downfield. Like I think there's so many different points there that could just, anybody really recognizing the quarterback of their life.
I'm so happy you said that. So my girlfriend is the one who kind of played devil's advocate on that. And she's like, "Well, isn't this kind of all not just for quarterbacks? Isn't this really for everyone?" And that was the exact answer, was to learn how to become the quarterback of your own life, to take control and lead yourself. And of course, the whole quarterback thing, right? So I don't foresee that as a challenge, but it is something just in the perception of it all, that's going to be in the description of it all, is to become the quarterback of your own life. You think of a quarterback, you think of a leader, you think of being in control, making decisions. That's what it's all about, is take control of your life, take responsibility, accountability, ownership for what you have control over, and make the decisions that are best suitable for you. And that's the whole thing. And where that little phrase came from, there's a fantastic book, I don't know if you've read it, it's called A Lion Tracker's Guide to Life.
I've heard of the guy, and I listened to the podcast, his episodes with Aubrey, but I have not read his book.
So it's fantastic. I listened to the book. It's just kind of interesting. I've just realized through listening to books, it's very impactful, but like I have much more difficult time like pulling bits of information, remembering. Anyway, it's this book, and that's where the idea came from. How elegantly and simply he was able to take this like abstract like career or whatever thing people do is tracking lions, and apply all of the fundamental principles that go into tracking lions well to living, no matter who you are. So that's going to be the nature and the flow of the book. Is it'll be somewhat quarterback centric in terms of, what goes on in the field of play and the fundamentals involved and the teaching points and coaching points involved, and then directly applying them to everyday life. And kind of the vision I have for it, we'll take like a yin and a yang approach of just polarity and relativity, and kind of just going back and forth between, how adversity can bring this up, and then how you can also see it in positive situations. And that's just the vision and what I have for it. But that's what it's all about.
I think the best stories and the best books are presented in that way, where you have the medium, you have the vehicle, and then there is the opportunity to reflect on how it applies to you in your own life and your own journey, which the title of the book that I have not worked on at all, but I think about it all the time, that I'm going to write, is Blank is the Vehicle. And because it's just every conversation I have, we talk about this specific aspect of a journey gave me these skills and this perspective, and playing in this team or being this coach, it's really the deeper purpose behind it is this. And I just see so much that the things we do are, they're just gateways into being more connected with people and having these elevated experiences and living a purposeful life. With that in mind of Blank is the Vehicle, one of the things I wrote down in the beginning that I wanted to touch on, and it was from one of your posts, and it was a poem or statement about perspective. And it was, what if your current struggle was actually a gift? Something I've considered a lot about, and I like talking with people about. It's always an enjoyable topic. Can you talk about that framework of perspective, and, what if a current struggle is actually a gift?
So that's actually a notion or a way of thinking and perceiving that I received directly from Aubrey and through him. It's been something that's extremely powerful for myself, and I'll apply it directly to my playing career. I had just about as much success as you can have playing in high school, and then pretty matter-of-factly, my college career was a disappointment, and not live up to my potential. I did not achieve my goals and all the above. I'm riddled with injury and all of that, and a lot of pain and angst and resentment and regret. So that's what it's all, that's where I was first able to easily see it. But then how it directly applies, it all comes down, we get this power to choose, right? There's a positive and a negative in everything. And if we can have the awareness in times of adversity and pain and struggle, to have the foresight to see that eventually there'll be a lesson learned from this, it makes going through the struggle a little bit more graceful and not as painful. And that's really what it's really all about. We can, it's easy to say hindsight is 20/20, right? It's easy to, and your whole life you can look back on and say, that's why, right? This is why, this is how it's helped me become who I am, and this part of me and that, and what I've learned. But in the times of difficulty and the times of struggle is where it's hard, right? So what I just believe, having that foresight and there's that notion, that thought process, not just what if this is a gift, it's declaring this is a gift being given to me to learn and grow from and come out better on the other side. I might not know what it is right now, but declaring that and having that frame of mind, there's no other way for it to work. The lesson is going to present itself. What you need to learn will present itself. And the other choice is to be fucking miserable and poor me, why me, victim mentality, which is unfortunately just, a little more what human nature is at the moment.
Yeah.
So that's where that teaching comes into play and what it's all about.
Yeah. That the first time I was introduced to that was I got my heart broken in high school, and I was like, man, victim mentality to the fullest. I was a mess. I was a sophomore, and I was like, this is the worst thing ever, and just so down in the dumps. And it led me to, I couldn't sleep. I had no idea how to downregulate, probably just going through social media. So it makes me laugh thinking back to it. And but I just looked up on Google on my phone, probably midnight, couldn't sleep. I just typed in how to train your mind.
Wow.
And it led me to a page, DalaiLama.org. And it was the 8 verses on the 8 teachings of how to train your mind. And I started reading through it. It took me probably 90 minutes to read through all 8 verses. And one of the things was that everybody's a Buddha and everybody's a teacher. And the people that hurt us the most are our greatest teachers, and they should be held as if they are a rare gem.
Wow.
And I remember feeling different. A shift occurred. And I was like, okay, maybe this experience and this person who broke my goddamn heart maybe isn't that bad. And that I'm learning from this, and it really shifted me. And that's what started my dive into Buddhism and meditation and into that style of thinking. It's so powerful. And yeah, it's really difficult to do when you're in the moment. But if you practice it consistently and you're aware of how powerful our words are, you can get good at it. And I think everyone has struggles and adversity. And I'm just grateful for now that when I'm communicating about them with others, the framework it's going to help me. I'm not going to explain it in a way that it's going to keep me down and in a victim mentality. I'm going to explain it as if I'm writing a story where I'm overcoming it. And it's such a powerful thing to learn and to use. And I think a great way to do it is journaling. And I think this will probably be the last kind of subject that we go into. But for most of the people I've had on the show who are pretty happy, they tend to have a consistent journaling practice. And I know it's been a huge boost in my own life. I know it's something that you do regularly. So can you talk about your journaling practice, when it started, maybe some resistance to it in the beginning, whatever it is, but whatever comes up for you. But let's talk about journaling.
Sure. And I'll touch on it right after. I just want to mention something with what we were discussing.
Mm-hmm.
All of these things, the mindset, the gratitude, the foresight and perspective, and with mindfulness in particular, and even flow state, I think there's somewhat of a kind of a foo-foo-y, mystical, like hippie dippy, you know what I mean? Kind of as people have around it. I want everyone to know that all of these things are skill sets.
Mm-hmm.
They are skill sets. And for us as coaches, work with athletes. Athletes understand skill sets. What does it take to develop skill sets? Practice and effort. And just making that clear, that is something I'm being very intentional about with everything I'm doing right now. Is these are all skill sets that you can learn, develop, nurture, grow, and eventually turn into personality traits, which is just essentially helping you become who you want to become. So I just want to make that clear, just all this stuff to make it simple for everybody listening. These are all accessible. They are all achievable, but they're skill sets first.
Yeah.
And if you put the work in, you can. So I just want to get that in.
Love it.
Journaling. Yeah. So I've gone through a bunch of different techniques and styles and practices, and it was always something that, I dabbled in at first. I'd try it, and the initial resistance came from feeling like I wasn't doing it right. And I want to say this because I know from feedback I've received from multiple young men, it's like they don't know what to write, or they don't know how to write, and they don't feel like they're doing it right. So to that point, the practice that's worked best for me is just free flow of consciousness. Just whatever's on my mind, I write with the purpose of just taking pen to paper, getting what's out of my head, my heart, onto the page with the understanding I'm never going to look at this again, and no one's ever going to read it. It is not to create something. It is not to fix something or whatever. It's literally just to write. So keeping it that simple has been extremely powerful for me. And then it's funny, through that practice, a lot of things get created, and a lot of, you know what I mean? But it's just free stream consciousness. And there's actually a course or a guidebook I'm using called, have you heard of The Artist's Way?
I have, yeah. I think
Yeah.
I think we discussed about it a few weeks ago when we talked.
That's what I'm using, and it provides guidance, and the book, it's a fantastic read. And then through in the journal, there's, just little bits of inspiration and quotes and things just kind of inspire a little bit. That's the practice that works best for me. And I've talked about it a bunch recently. And what I've always failed to mention is the reason I journal is for healing, first and foremost. That's my first intention with it. I was on a podcast recently, and the direction of the conversation, I use journaling as a space to open up and invite source and God, universe to flow through. And that's right after breathing and meditating, I sit down and write, and I'm connecting to the highest version of myself. And it took that course, but I use it also as a time to write out things that, I might not have looked at from my childhood, and things that I struggled with and currently struggle with. And I use it as a form of therapy and time to really let out what I never looked at and I might be holding on to. And, all the way to things, getting broken up with in 8th grade, girlfriend decided to date my best friend instead. And as a 31-year-old man, consciously, it's like, yeah, whatever. But no, there's energy, and I'm holding on to that. So little things like that you might not necessarily think are a thing. We hold on to our trauma in form of energy. And as men, we are taught to bottle up, suppress, don't cry, don't talk about it. Fucking long we've been doing that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So this is what I see as the work, as just staring my shit in the face, going down in the dungeon and slaying the dragon. What have I experienced that I might be holding on to that is not helping me express myself as the highest version of myself? What do I need to work through? And that's what goes on a lot in my journal.
That's incredible, man. What an amazing practice. And I'm sure you can say without a doubt that it's helped you become that best version of yourself, right? I mean, I can see it on your face, and just achieve a higher level of inner peace. So I hope others are willing to, whatever it is for you, take that dive into putting pen to paper. I know for me, it's been an incredible practice, and mine looks completely different, but therapeutic and beneficial. And I just, and more and more people tapping into it, more and more people sharing with others. That's a beautiful thing. I have enjoyed this conversation so much, James. I have no doubt that you are in alignment and moving in the direction of achieving your massively transformative purpose, and you're going to help a ton of people along the way. I know that you've already inspired me, and that I can consider you a mentor from a distance. I got 3 pages of freaking notes, and these are going home with me. And I'm fired up to keep our relationship going. And yeah, man, just to keep the growth going individually and together, and just seeing what you can achieve will be a lot of fun to watch. And I look forward to whenever that book does come out. I'm already stoked about it. I'll be on the pre-order list, whatever it is.
I'll be hitting some ideas and feedback as well, though, man. Believe that. That's
great, dude. Well, I appreciate you. And, man, have a great summer ahead. And, my dad was a quarterback back in the day, And I'll share this with him first, but I'm sure he would have benefited, as so many people would, from having you as our quarterback coach and maybe life coach. So I appreciate you, James. Thank you so much, man.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate the opportunity. Have a
Yes,
great
sir.
day.